We made it, guys. That was a long ass freaking trip. St. Louis. This is where we're staying at for the weekend. Looks scary. It's nighttime. From that? Yeah, dude.
Not that I have anything against the East Coast, but it's good to be, back here in the Midwest with my friends. And this is my 18th consecutive TCIA. Anybody been to more than that? I know. Well, you must be older than me. But I brought, for 16 years, I brought students here, of which, are they Purdue students in here? 4 branch attachments and bifurcation, which are considered a higher risk of failure. And where do we do this pruning? Here. Always prune on the periphery. I can't say that enough. If we don't, where are we pruning? In the interior. What's that called? Lion's tailing. And that has a huge impact on the stability and biomechanics of that tree. There should be no pruning at all within the interior of that crown, unless there is a defect or condition of concern that increases the likelihood of failure or your risk rating to an unacceptable level. But this is where we need to be concentrating and thinking, instead of thinking about, oh my gosh, I got so much to do up here to improve the structure. We need to focus on the largest ones and make the biggest cuts that we can and actually can afford in order to accomplish that objective, instead of a bunch of that fluffy crap that we often see people doing. So it's the larger branches that make the biggest difference. Now, when I was a lad doing a lot of pruning, every codominant or poor branch aspect ratio got cut, got pruned. But what we've learned is they're not all bad. And so as research, if I'll try to make it as accurate as possible in a short time. But basically there's 2 types of bifurcations that we see in the crown and also on stems. They're either cup-shaped or they're V-shaped. They're still both codominant with 1-to-1 ratios, but there's one important aspect that's on one that's not on the other that makes all the difference. And what is that? Yes, the branch bark ridge. It's always ever present on an acceptable attachment. Now, on the one on the left that you see, it's a tight cup-shaped crotch or connection or attachment, but it still has that branch bark ridge, and contrast to the one on the right, nothing there. It's just 2 limbs two branches competing for each other. So by splitting them apart, you can see where the branch bark ridge falls. I'm going to try to do some changing that tree's response to dynamic loading forces. Now, this is a very technical look at that, but basically, the more live green tissue you have, the more damping you have. So what it does, damping means dissipation. That's dissipation of energy. So wind kind of moves across the earth in tubes and it punches the tree. And so when it hits that tree, you'll notice on that windy day that the smaller branches are doing this, right? But if you look down to the primary branch, the stem, what kind of movement do you see? Very little. So it's transferring or damping that energy through the branch, through the trunk, into the roots, and out through the ground. That's damping. But if we remove that, and there's some people inherently thinking that I'll prune out all the interior branches, which will allow what? Oh, yeah, we don't want to do that. So mass damping is critically important. We don't want a porous tree. We want a tree that can actually dissipate that energy effectively. And that tree will do that as long as the structure is sound with good branch attachments, good branch aspect ratio.
Social media, Bobby.
Oh shit, dude.
He also winded himself with his own
See all the
wind.
machinery in there.
What's your plan?
There it is. That's what we've been looking for. Two competitors right next to each other.
Yeah, when I tried to get them, I tried to buy
Not quite done. Well, you're at least being forced to start.
this model hasn't started shipping yet. So this is a prototype. The top cover is a prototype.
Get it on there! Get it on there! Come on!
Hold the blue! Hold the blue! Hold the blue!
20 seconds! Come on!
Hold the blue, that's all.
You got 20 seconds. There you go. 15 seconds.
Put it on there! Like, come on!
Yeah.
Use that
Come on! Come on! Come on! Oh! He knows what he's doing.
We have some good times.
That would be nice on when.
All right, get that timer going, Rod. Get that timer. All right, Sam, ready when you are.
1 second.
Rolling. Go, 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 go.
Party info.
There you go.
Let's go! Yeah!
Yeah.
Take it up. Good job, buddy.
He got it.
Esa es la mera verga!
Beautiful, man. Beautiful.
That's Jimbo Man!
Hey, I forgot to start the clock. You got to start over.
Party info.
Oh, just kidding, man. Just kidding.
Get that big one.
Party info, you guys got anything? Good job, man. I took a picture.
The smallest might have the road runner.
Gotcha.
Give me a Kimbo. I want a Kimbo.
Oh my god. Get the small one, has the road runner. Choose it.
You know exactly where he's going. Look at that.
This dude's good.
You don't trust us that we're putting the good ones on the floor? Is that what's going on here? Come on, Sam.
Yeah, let's go.
The easy part's over.
Yes, because I can. Go, go, go.
Yeah, buddy. Woo.
So close.
Oh.
Let it go.
Come on, Sam.
I'm helping you, Sam. My bad.
So close, man.
Ah, he killed it. He killed
Come
it.
on, Sam. You got it, man. You got it. Come on, Sam.
2 minutes.
He was doing so good, the guy had to mess with him.
Come on, Sam, I am.
You got it, buddy. You got it. I'm done now. Hey, that was good save, sir.
Look what I scored, guys.
The cinch system is great because I can actually move my way around the spar, and my rope is now cinching. It's actually pulling me closer to the tree as I move around it. The problem with this cinch is if I go that direction, I'm actually opening up that knot. So what we teach is to put anything that will actually create a bite, a pressic on here, okay? And to double cinch your system up. So now you have 2 planes of movement that rope is actually cinched on the spar with. Now I can go left or right, make those cuts in proper position. It's easy to lower, and it's also rescuable, all right? So I'm gonna take this, give myself some slack. I'm gonna come around and clip my rope in over here. So now I'm double cinched.
Yeah, this can work with just a prusik, a little thimble. You can use, there's a multitude of different cordages out there that you can configure this up with. You know, this is a little bit more gear intensive, but it's just a thimble, prusik, and a carabiner.
So yeah, now that I have that clipped in, I can move my way around the spar, and I'm cinched in both directions. That way I'm not limiting myself to only making that cut from one side. Okay, and that'll become really important when we go over making a face cut and a back cut, being able to actually see what's happening inside my cut. Okay, if I didn't have this and I went the other direction around the tree, I'd start loosening that knot up, and now I'm in a compromised position. Okay,
Everyone kind of get
this down there before I actually cut. Side of the spar. I'm going to start with my angle in the direction I actually want the piece to go.
So typically, if you got a set of good double dogs, this works phenomenal because you can use those dogs as a measuring tool. You split the difference between the 2 dogs and the bar, and that's how you line everything up. So we've got one here. So Alex here is in a position to where he's on the side of the spar where he can see all his cut, right? So he's got those double dogs in there. It's going to allow for easy cutting. As we can tell, it's a little difficult down here on the ground. Once Andy's up in the tree and demos this here in a second, it'll be much more to picture here. So he's able to make that cut, bam, 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 see down, see his bars level. And then as he comes around, he's going to take his dogs and he's going to split the apex of his kerf, because now that this body of the saw is not in his way, he can see right down his cut all the way. He can see down the cut completely. So what this is going to allow him to do is to get down into a position to where he can see, line it up, start his cut, pop back up, and then finish the cut completely. And on really big wood, you don't want to sit there and clean up bypass, you know? You want to try to get this cut perfect. I mean, this cut works, you know, 95% of the time you're on it. Alex, if you want to go ahead and spin around to where you can use your go side of the bar on the difference right here. And he's going to put both those dogs in on this side, because we're always trying to cut with the go side of the bar as much as we can. Why is that? Anybody? Why is that? Why? Chain pulls for us, right? It cuts for us, it does the work for us. I don't want us to sit there and push and push and be wore out by the end of the day. So if I split the difference and use those dogs as a measuring tool, let's say those dogs are 1 inch and 3/4 to my cutter chain, right? If I stick those dogs in there, I've got my rear dog. Everyone see the height difference? We got like 1 inch and 3/4 and 3 inches up here. If I plant that there, I can set my hinge, and all I have to do is work my way up to where the body of the saw is flush, and then I just got a little bit more, right? That's on a bigger Spar. And then it's going to allow us to really, really dial in those cuts. You got that?
Yep. Thank you, Milwaukee, for letting us demo this. I don't know if you guys have put hands on these yet, but I'm a fan. If it's on. All right.
Bingo.
There we go. So, I'm in good, stable position, looking at my target. It's so quiet, I feel bad. All right. Feathering that saw, feathering that chain. Really, throttle control is really important. I know with these electric saws, it's going to stop on a dime when I stop pulling that trigger. With the gas-powered saw, you have a little bit more runtime on that chain as you're getting closer and closer to your level point. So as I'm looking down, I'm looking down the bottom of my saw right here, using that as a guide to make sure that I'm flat. I like that. If I had bigger dogs on this, I would actually dig them in, pivot off of that cut. I'm going to do a little elevation change so I can actually see where that needs to line up perfectly and split that difference like Tanner was saying. Now right here, I change levels again. I can look down this part of my cut, look down the curve and actually see what's happening. Overcutting and going into that apex, I'm cutting away my hinge. This is the best way to be accurate in keeping your hinge intact. You're gonna wiggle.
So as soon as you see that wiggle, we stop cutting, right?
Pick up the fat.
So if Andy had some double dogs,
I could.
Another thing.
TCIA Expo Happy Hour will begin in 15 minutes. Please visit one of the many bars that will be located around the show floor. Thank you.
So as soon as we see a little bit of jiggle, we got that bigger saw in our hand. All we got to do is take that saw out and then pop that notch, and it'll fly right out. Because as I always say, is you can take more wood away, but you can never put it back, right? So I don't want to take my chance, cut, oh wait, cut, because I want to see that thing fall out for me. If it moves a little bit, don't take the chance, you know, because then we got a whole correction issue, and then it's changing the whole direction of our notch at that point. So if you see it move, stop, beat that thing out with a wedge, hammer, axe, whatever you got, or if you're up there in the tree with your saw, pop it out. right? So now Andy spun around.
Again, I have a really good sight line here where I want my hinge, how much holding wood I need to keep this thing on the cut or to let it go off. I'm able to make that level change and get everything perfectly lined up. That way, you know, my bar's in the right position. I'm not too low, I'm not too high. I'm also in the kickback zone, I'm out of it. I can bend down, I can get in there, but if there was any kickback, say my bar wasn't long enough and it was the bar was getting to that kickback zone, I'm not down here trying to line that thing up and allowing it to be right next to my neck. I'm up in this stable, good platform, right about chest height, where I have the most power, the most leverage on the saw. I almost like to put my elbow into the hip, and really, if I need to dig into that more, once it's lined up, I can do that, okay?
Yeah, the closer.
Thank you for that warm introduction. Good morning, my name is Shulz. I know it's early, it's extra early for me because I'm also a couple hours off on time. If you guys don't know me, I'm an arborist and been a climber for about 20 years. Enough about me, let's talk about you. This presentation is called Climbing Efficiency, and I would like to know a little bit about some of the backgrounds of the climbers in the room here. How many people learn on moving rope? Raise your hands. Now, of those people who learned on moving rope, how many people taut line blake hitch? All right. Hitch climbers? Still hitch climbers. How many people learned on SRS? Oh, we got a couple. All right, cool. So for the SRS guys, it's pretty crucial that you get that high tie-in good throw ball shot, yeah? Is that fair to say? Now for you guys with the moving rope, I mean, yeah, you want to hit a high tie-in, but how many people learn, go get the 40-foot ladder, 2 sections of pole saw, put that rope at the first limb? Anybody else learn, take that 40-foot ladder, spur up to the side to climb?
Check it out, guys, second day. This is where all the bigger equipment's at. Cranes, lifts. They got a Centiboggan over there. Oh, the grapple's in the back. Look at these. Like a different company, similar to the Giants.
Bill here has cranes, knuckle booms, all that. He's also a pilot. Would they let you fly that plane if you didn't have a pilot license? No, sir, right? Well, so why do we think that, you know, in some states you don't need to have a certification for the crane or anything like that? Why would we go and buy $1 million piece of equipment without having someone qualified first, without having someone with the certification or the knowledge to do it? And a lot of companies do that, right? We go out, we buy the crane first, and then we'll certify the guy. We'll let him learn on $1 million piece of equipment. How about that, right? Now, I know a lot of you businessmen and business women here are way smarter than that. So, again, in talking about safety, first of all, certification, qualifications. Are you qualified? Have you taken a training to operate the crane? Have you done work with the crane already? Are you maybe a climber that has cut on the trees with the crane, right? So we got that first. Training, qualification, everything that you need to operate the crane, first of all. Now when you got the training, the qualification, the certification,
Well, we made it back. We're back home. Just wanted to do a little video, kind of doing my review, giving my honest opinion as a first timer to the TCIA Expo, and hopefully give some insight to some people that are considering potentially going in the future, or who have been kind of on the fence, at least giving my perspective on the whole experience. So as I mentioned, this was my first time, and being that, like, the first day was pretty crazy. So many professionals, companies ranging from small to big come to this expo, and it is just an incredible eye-opening experience from the perspective that, you know, sometimes you might be bottled in your own little ecosystem, especially in this industry. I think it's easy for a lot of us to get kind of in that mindset, like, oh, you're either at the top of your game here in your area, right? But you tend to forget that you're not the only one on this planet. So in that sense, it's a humbling experience. You see a lot of professionals, a lot of really good people, really famous people, so that's cool too. And then there's the other aspect of it. The equipment that they show off is really cool as well. But let me just break this down real quick. So I think the first thing that I want to touch on is the education side of things. If you're getting an all access pass, that's like $500 right there. And I'd say if you're ISA certified, it's worth it. You're going to get your CEUs, and it's super easy to do. I mean, you just hit the badge, boom, then they'll register through the ISA. As long as your TCIA account is connected to your ISA credential, then you will get your CEUs, and it's super easy to do. It's a very simple process. The classes, I'll say, you know, and me being first time, I felt like it was a hit or miss. If you're brand new to the industry, if you're trying to learn, if you're trying to become more professional and maybe you don't have a good idea or have anybody that can mentor you, I'd say that this is the perfect place to go. You're going to learn a lot. And I think, or at least in my experience from this expo, a lot of the content that it was tailored more towards up and coming companies or smaller companies. Once you start getting up to the higher level, then, you know, the information and stuff that you need to learn, and especially if you're more experienced or more advanced, it becomes a little bit harder to learn new stuff. But that's just how it goes, I guess. You know, you're gonna get more people that are newer to the industry than longtime veterans, right? So, yeah. So from the education aspect, if you're ISA certified, I'd say it's worth it. You're going to get your CEUs really easy. Two of the classes that I took out of a couple throughout the 3-day, two of those classes were pretty good, I'd say, and they had to deal with pruning. Lately, for me personally, I've been trying to improve my game, especially with residential pruning. Commercial pruning can be a little bit different. A lot of the times they don't really care, but when you come to that residential client that, you know, they want their tree really well taken care of, that's when you gotta kind of be able to explain your process and also know what you're doing. So I think over the course of me learning and improving and, you know, getting my ISA credential especially, I've learned a lot about proper pruning. But I took a class by Lindsey Purcell, and he taught us some things that I felt were really insightful, that kind of change your perspective. And it all goes back to also to the track course, which I took, which I learned even more about proper pruning and how to break that down. Less is more when it comes to pruning, but we're getting on a tangent. Anyways, two of the classes out of all the classes that I went to, I felt like were really good. The rest, like I said, more tailored towards smaller companies or beginners in this industry, or maybe you don't have as much time and there's a bigger gap for you to learn. For me personally, I didn't feel like it was, I didn't take away too much. If you're trying to learn and be more professional, this is definitely the place to go. They're gonna feed you that information that maybe you're not aware of. And like I said, if you're in a position where maybe you don't necessarily have the right people to teach you, this is a good place to come, and it'll be an eye-opening experience for you. But if you feel like, you know, the way you work or the company you're in is very safety oriented and up to date with current standards and practices when it pertains to tree work, then you might not take so much away from the classes. And by the third day, I mean, you go into it in the mornings, and this is kind of the breakdown of it. You go into it in the mornings, and they give you until like 9 or 10, I believe it was, to do the classes. And then after that, you'd be able to enter the trade show, which is where all the equipment was. So you're kind of forced to go into the classes, which isn't a bad thing, but you just look at whoever you want or whatever topic seems interesting to you, and you just sit in the class for like an hour and just listen to the presenter talk about their topic, because they prepared like a whole PowerPoint thing for you. So yeah, with that being said, let's move on to the second part, which was the trade show with all the equipment. Now, this is where a lot of you guys are going to definitely like it. You get to see a lot of really neat stuff. You get to try out some cool stuff that is coming up. Like, for example, I was super interested in checking out the new Husqvarna battery saw. And I've been hearing a lot, there's a lot of hype behind it. And the trade show, you get to see a lot of the stuff, get to try it out. And sometimes there's good deals on equipment as well. So going back to, if you're a little bit newer into the industry, and even if you're at that midway point as a company to where potentially you might want to see what type of equipment's out there, you get to see all kinds of equipment, from stump grinders to loaders to cranes. Like, pretty much everything on the market that you can imagine is here, and you can check it out. A lot of that equipment you can actually use, and so it's really cool. And so it's also a good place for networking, or if you're trying to make a contact with people and, you know, potentially you're trying to make that step into purchasing one of these things or trying to finance one of these pieces of equipment. This is a good place to do so. I know most of, you know, you're not going to go and spend $40,000 on a loader that you've never tested, or at least know what its use is for, you know, just because you saw an Instagram reel or something like that, right? But yeah, this is a great place to go and check it out. You get to meet pretty much all the celebrities. You see them on the floor. It's funny, some of the guys that we've seen in the comps were walking around, so a lot of old homies you get to see there too, and all different types of people come to the trade show. So it's a cool experience in that regard, of being able to see all those people and all that equipment, all that in one place. It's pretty incredible, actually, because a lot of these things, like, you would never imagine. Like, I didn't know they used that stuff in tree work, but they do. You know, so we stayed there 3 days, and you pretty much seen it all by day one. It's pretty hard to not see it all. You're not going to get to every class, so that in that aspect, you probably want to pick and choose what you want to see and potentially learn, with the caveat being probably a lot of the stuff that you're going to see as far as like learning is going to be more towards beginners. But, you know, I've heard that they've also had really good speakers that have tailored their information more towards maybe the intermediate or more advanced guys. By day one, you've pretty much seen it all here. I'd say 3 days is more than enough. If you're trying to get your CEUs, worth it. $500, you know, you get to go to all the classes, you get the CEUs after. So if you miss a class, a lot of them are recorded, and then you'll be able to see them later as well. So even if you miss a certain class, most of them you'll be able to see up until a certain deadline. So that's the good thing. You'll always get your CEUs, which is pretty cool. If you're just trying to check it out, I'd say go one day. That's all you really need. pick one full day to go. You're gonna see everything you need to. I'd say probably choose the last day. Although, so it's a give and take, right? Because they do have scenarios where they'll have really good deals. Like, for example, this year, Cheryl Tree had a really good deal on some equipment. They, that new pop box throw cube was on sale for $100. Picked one up. I'm kind of kicking myself now. I wish I would have gotten a second one, but it's not necessary. I just think it's super awesome. It's super cool. But yeah, there was a lot of stuff on sale. And then the year before, they had actually sold Rope Runner Pros for $100, which people were just eating it up. Like, that's insane deals, right? That's the first day. Sometimes if you stay for the last day, a lot of people are trying to get rid of their stuff. So if you stick around, sometimes you'll be able to get good deals on equipment. And there's a lot of people that want to just get rid of their stuff to not have to load it all back and then drive with it, you know. So they might give you an even better deal. But one day is all you really need. You're going to see it all as long as you choose a full day. And we have been waking up super early. So by like after midday, probably like around 3, doing all that walking around and stuff, you're pretty much exhausted. At least I was. And, all we did was walk around and sit in classes. It was pretty repetitive, especially, doing one day. One day was super exciting. Second day, I'm still excited. But once that 3 o'clock hits, you start getting a little more weathered down. And then by the third day, you're just like, okay, I've seen it. Let's go. I don't need to see anymore, As an overall, it was a great experience for myself. Like I said, great place to network with people, companies especially. If you're trying to make a contact with different distributors, or like we talked about, potentially getting a piece of machinery, this is the place to do so. And as an overall from education, I felt like the little tidbits here and there, I'll take them because overall it makes me a better arborist, and I like being able to not only do the work but be able to explain it, and I think that's super important. So keeping up with that education is really cool. Would I pay $500 every year to go see it? Depends on who's talking. I think if I know the type of content that I'm gonna receive from a certain person, then maybe it's worth it. But really, a lot of the stuff that I was kind of excited to see about, like crane safety and crane topics and climbing this and climbing that, I think it was a little bit of a hit and a miss with that type of stuff. Picked up a couple little techniques here and there, little tricks and whatnot, but nothing crazy or wow, I mean, I can't expect as much, but I felt like it was going to be a little more fruitful event in those regards as far as upping my game and knowledge and whatnot, but it is what it is. I'm not complaining. At the end of the day, the experience in and of itself was really great, and got to hang out with the homies there, so that was fun as well. But yeah, this has gone long enough, so hopefully my rambling made sense. Yeah, if you have any questions, just hit me down in the comments, guys and girls. Let me know. Do you like the video? Comment, like, share, subscribe. I'm out. This has been long enough.